At the family wedding, my parents told me not to sit with cousins because you're embarrassing. My mom's nails dug into my forearm through the thin fabric of my dress as she steered me away from the round tables like she was guiding a toddler away from a hot stove. Not there, she hissed, smiling so brightly at passing guests you'd think she was hosting. Her teeth didn't move when she added, "You're embarrassing." My dad didn't even look at me when he backed her up. He just stared past my shoulder toward the dance floor, jaw tight, and said, "Go sit over by the bar for now. Just don't start." I could smell hairspray and champagne and someone's perfume layered over roasted chicken. The venue lights were warm and soft and designed to make everything look romantic, and all I could think about was how my stomach felt like it had dropped through the floor. My hands went cold. I felt my cheeks burn like I'd been slapped. I glanced at the cousins' table. My cousins laughing, leaning in, arms thrown around each other for selfies. And then I looked back at my parents, waiting for the punchline, waiting for them to soften it, to say they were joking, to admit they'd accidentally said something cruel. They didn't. Mom's grip tightened, and she gave me the kind of look you give a person who is about to ruin a picture. I didn't move right away because my body always does this little delay when something humiliating happens, like it's trying to reboot. "Embarrassing how?" I asked, and my voice came out small, even though I tried to make it normal. Mom's smile didn't drop. She leaned closer so her lips were near my ear, warm breath, and whispered, "Just, your vibe. Don't make it about you." My dad finally looked at me, but it was that look where he's not seeing me. He's seeing the problem he's trying to avoid. "Please," he said quietly, like I was already mid-meltdown. "Just tonight. For once. For once." Like my whole life is me doing this, and they're the ones suffering. The band started playing some upbeat song, and the crowd cheered. And in the middle of all that noise, I realized something very clear and very sickening. My parents had already decided I was the risk, not the person who might be hurt. They were managing me like an emergency. It was my cousin Marissa's wedding, first cousin on my mom's side, the golden branch of the family tree. The kind of wedding where the invites are thick cardstock and the tables have real flowers, and there's a photographer snapping everything like a magazine spread. It was also the first big family event I'd been to in almost a year because after a string of smaller humiliations, birthday dinners where I got joked about, holidays where my seat somehow disappeared, group chats where I was the last to know, I'd started saying no. Quietly, politely. With excuses that weren't even excuses, they were just boundaries, but my family treats boundaries like insults. Still, when the wedding invite came, my mom called me immediately. "You have to come," she said like it was a duty. "People will ask." And that phrase, "people will ask," is basically the engine of my whole family. Nothing is about feelings, it's about appearances. It's about not giving anyone a reason to whisper. I told myself it would be different. Weddings are public. Weddings have rules. Weddings are too big for anyone to single me out. I told myself if I just showed up and smiled and didn't talk too much and didn't mention anything heavy, I could blend in. I even rehearsed small talk on the drive. "How's work?" "Great." "How's life?" "Busy." "How's everything?" "Fine." I wore a dress my mom approved of, navy, conservative neckline, classy, and I did my makeup carefully in the mirror of my tiny bathroom like I was painting armor onto my face. I arrived early because my mom told me to, and that should have been my first clue. When my family tells me to arrive early, it's not because they're excited to see me. It's because they want to position me, place me, manage the optics. The ceremony itself was beautiful. It was in this garden with white chairs and a little arch covered in roses. Everyone cried at the vows. Even my dad wiped his eye and pretended it was allergies. I sat beside my parents like a normal daughter and clapped at the right times. And for a while I actually felt safe. Like maybe I'd been overthinking. Like maybe my family had grown up a little since the last time I'd been around. When people hugged after the ceremony, I even got a few warm smiles. One aunt said, "It's been ages." And I said, "I know." And for a second it felt like I might be allowed back in. Then we moved into the reception hall, and the old rules snapped into place like magnets. There was a seating chart on an easel near the entrance. People clustered around it, laughing, looking for their names. I stepped forward with my parents, and my mom's finger traced down the list. Her brows pulled together. She looked at my name, then at the table number. Then she looked at my dad. "Oh," she said too brightly. "What?" I asked. "Nothing." Of course, she didn't answer me. She just folded her program and said, "We'll sort it out." I followed them inside. The hall was gorgeous. Fairy lights draped across the ceiling, soft music, glasses clinking, waiters weaving through with trays. There was that wedding smell, flowers and food and expensive candles. People were already taking photos. I could see my cousins at one big table near the dance floor, already loud, already in their element. I felt a weird little hope rise. Maybe I was sitting with them. Maybe someone had thought of me. Maybe I'd get to laugh and be normal for a night. My mom walked us toward the cousins' table and then stopped abruptly, like she'd hit an invisible wall. She turned, grabbed my arm, and pulled me slightly back into the flow of people. That's when she said it. That's when Dad added his "don't start." That's when my stomach dropped. I glanced around, suddenly hyper-aware of how visible we were. People were everywhere. The bartender was polishing glasses. A bridesmaid in satin walked past. Someone from my uncle's side of the family waved at us. My mom waved back, still smiling, still holding my arm like a clamp. "Why can't I sit with them?" I asked, keeping my voice low. Mom's smile tightened. "Because you're on edge lately," she whispered. "I'm fine," I said, even though the words tasted like a lie the moment they left my mouth. Dad leaned in. "Just sit where we tell you," he said. "Don't make this hard." Hard. Like my presence is a chore. I looked at the cousins' table again. I saw Marissa's brother, my cousin Nick, laughing with his head thrown back. I saw my cousin Talia, different Talia than the one in the barbecue story, but in my family we apparently reuse names like hand-me-downs, snapping a selfie. I saw empty chairs because people were still arriving. Then I saw my name card. Not at their table. At a table near the back, half blocked by a pillar, with older relatives and two people I didn't recognize. It was the miscellaneous table, the table of polite small talk and people who leave early, the table where you put someone when you don't know where they fit. And suddenly the word embarrassing made more sense. They weren't worried I'd cause a scene. They were worried I'd exist too loudly near people who mattered. I swallowed hard. "So you sat me at the back because you think I'll embarrass you," I said, voice shaking despite my effort. Mom's eyes flashed, still smiling. "Don't do that," she whispered sharply. "Do what?" I asked. "Say it out loud." Dad's face reddened. "It's not like that," he said. "It is like that," I said, and I could feel tears rising, and I hated it because tears are the fastest way to get dismissed in my family. Tears are proof you're too much. Mom leaned closer. "People are watching," she whispered, which was basically her entire parenting philosophy in 4 words. And then, like some cruel timing from the universe, my cousin Nick spotted us. He waved, big grin. "Hey," he called. "Come sit with us." My chest tightened with this sharp, hopeful ache. I lifted my hand to wave back. Mom yanked my arm slightly. "No," she said through a smile. I froze. Nick started walking over, weaving between tables. My dad's eyes widened like a man watching a car crash he doesn't want to be involved in. Nick reached us, still smiling. "You made it," he said, and he looked genuinely happy to see me, which almost made me cry on the spot because it felt like sunlight. "We saved you a seat. Come on." Mom laughed lightly. "Oh, she started. She's sitting elsewhere." Dad cut in quickly, like he was slamming a door. Nick blinked. "Why?" he asked, confused. "There's room." Mom's smile went rigid. "It's just better this way," she said. Nick looked at me. "You okay?" he asked. I could feel every eye in the area, even if they weren't actually looking. I could feel the heat in my face. I could feel my parents' tension like wires. "I'm fine," I lied, because I didn't want to make Nick uncomfortable. I didn't want him dragged into whatever this was. Nick's expression changed, the smile fading slightly. "You don't look fine," he said quietly. Mom's nails dug into my arm again, a warning. "Nick," she said sweetly, "go enjoy your night. The bride will be looking for you." Nick's jaw tightened. He looked at Mom, then Dad, then me. "Okay," he said slowly, like he didn't buy it. "But if you want to sit with us later, just come." He walked away, and the moment he turned his back, my mom hissed, "Why do you always pull focus?" Ist her, stunned. I didn't do anything, I said. Dad's voice was low, urgent. Just sit at your table, he said. Please. I want to scream. I wanted to laugh. I wanted to vanish. Instead, I nodded like a robot because my body chose survival over dignity, and I walked to the back table like I'd been told. The table was a mix of people. Great Aunt Linda, who always smells like lavender and says things like, young people these days, an older couple from the groom's side who looked equally lost, and my uncle's friend's parents. Everyone was polite. Everyone asked me what I do. I answered vaguely. I smiled until my cheeks hurt. I watched my cousins across the room laughing and clinking glasses and taking photos, and I felt like I was watching my own family through glass. At some point, the speeches started. The best man made jokes. The father of the bride cried. People cheered. My cousins hooped. My parents sat at their table near the front, smiling at the right times, looking like proud, normal parents. And I sat behind a pillar, applauding quietly, feeling like a prop they'd hidden. I tried to enjoy the food. The chicken was good. The potatoes were buttery. It all tasted like nothing because my throat was tight. Every time I glanced toward my parents, my mom wouldn't look at me. My dad looked at me once, briefly, and then looked away like he'd been caught. Then came the part that tipped me over completely. During dessert, the photographers started doing family photos. They called groups up, bride's immediate family, cousins, aunts and uncles. People shuffled toward the dance floor, laughing, straightening outfits, fixing hair. I stood up automatically when they said, cousins, because that's me. That's where I belong. My mom's hand shot out and grabbed my wrist under the table. No, she whispered. I looked down at her hand, then at her face. What? I asked, barely audible. Mom's eyes were wide, urgent. Stay, she whispered. Don't make it weird. Weird, I repeated. My voice cracked. It's a cousin's photo. Dad stared at the tablecloth, jaw clenched so tight I could see the muscle jumping. He didn't say anything. Across the room, Nick turned and looked around like he was searching. His eyes landed on me. He frowned. He mouthed, come. I started to stand again. Mom squeezed my wrist hard enough, actually hurt. Stop, she hissed. You'll embarrass us. And something in me snapped. Not in a dramatic, screaming way. More like a thread finally breaking after being pulled for years. I pulled my wrist out of her grip. Not aggressively, just firmly. I stood up. Mom's face went pale. Dad looked up, alarmed. I walked toward the photo area, my legs trembling. The floor felt uneven under my heels. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. People were laughing, oblivious. The photographer was arranging everyone like a big puzzle. Nick saw me, and his face relaxed with relief. He made space. There you are, he said quietly, like he'd been waiting. I stepped into the group, slipping between cousins. Someone handed me a champagne flute. Someone adjusted my hair. For a moment, just a moment, I felt normal again. Then I heard my mom's voice behind me, loud enough to carry. She's not meant to be in this one, Mom said, laughing like it was a joke. The laughter around us faltered. The photographer hesitated, confused. A couple cousins turned. Nick's head snapped toward Mom like he'd been slapped. I went cold. My whole body froze. Nick stepped forward slightly, blocking my view of Mom like he was shielding me. What? He said sharp. Mom's smile was still plastered on. Dad stood beside her, rigid, eyes wide like he wanted to disappear into the carpet. Mom waved a hand. Oh, nothing, she said. It's just, she's been a bit unstable lately, so we're keeping things calm. Unstable. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I felt the room tilt. I felt the blood drain from my face. I could see my cousin's expressions shifting. Confusion, discomfort, anger, pity. Pity is the one I can't stand. Nick turned fully toward Mom. Are you serious? He asked, voice low but hard. Mom's smile flickered. Nick, don't. No, Nick cut in. Don't do that. Don't say that about her. Dad finally spoke, and it wasn't to defend me. Nick, he said quietly, let's not make a scene. Nick laughed once harsh. A scene? You're calling her unstable in front of everyone. Mom's face flushed. I didn't mean it like that, she snapped. I stood there, hands shaking, champagne, flute trembling. I could feel eyes on me from every angle. I wanted to run. I wanted to evaporate. I wanted to claw my skin off. And then my cousin Talia, Marissa's sister, stepped out of the group and walked straight up to me. She took the champagne flute gently from my hand and set it down on a nearby table like she was handling something fragile. Then she put her hand on my shoulder. "You're in the photo," she said, loud and clear. The photographer blinked. Okay, he said uncertainly. Talia looked at the cousins. "Everyone in," she said. "If you're a cousin, you're in." One by one, my cousins shuffled closer, closing the gap around me like a wall. Nick stayed slightly in front, still facing my parents like he was daring them to try again. Mom's smile crumbled. Dad looked like someone had punched him in the gut. For the first time all night, I saw shame on his face. Real shame. The photographer, sensing tension but wanting to keep moving, lifted the camera. Okay. Big smiles. I tried so hard. My cheeks hurt. My eyes stung. I smiled with my mouth while my body felt like it was vibrating. The flash went off. After the photo, people dispersed quickly, chatter resuming like everyone was desperate to pretend nothing happened. The band started playing again. Someone dragged the bride to the dance floor. The night kept going because weddings are machines. They don't stop for one person's humiliation. Nick turned to me. "Are you okay?" he asked. I opened my mouth and nothing came out. My throat was locked. Talia squeezed my shoulder. "Come with me," she said quietly. She led me to a small hallway near the bathrooms, away from the crowd. The air was cooler there. The noise muffled. I leaned against the wall and finally breathed out, shaky. "I'm so sorry," Talia said, and her voice shook with anger. "That was disgusting. They think that," I whispered. "They think I'm embarrassing." Talia's eyes flashed. "They think they can control you," she said. "That's different." The words hit. Control. Yes, that's what it was. They weren't protecting the wedding. They were managing the narrative of me. Nick appeared a minute later, jaw tight. "I just spoke to my mom," he said, voice low. "She's furious. Like actually furious." I swallowed hard. "I didn't want to cause drama," I said automatically, because the script is deep. Nick's eyes narrowed. "You didn't," he said firmly. "They did." A door opened behind us, and my dad stepped into the hallway like he'd been pushed out. He looked pale. He looked older than he did an hour ago. His hands were empty, like he didn't know what to do with them. "Can we talk?" he asked me, voice tight. Talia immediately squared her shoulders. "Maybe not right now," she said. Dad's eyes flicked to her, then to Nick. "This is family," he said like that meant anything. Nick's voice was quiet and deadly. "Yeah," he said. "She is. Remember?" Dad swallowed. He looked back at me. "Your mother didn't mean." "Stop," I said, and my own voice surprised me. It came out firm. Not loud, just firm. Dad froze. I stared at him. "Don't," I said again. "Don't rewrite it." She said I'm embarrassing. She said I'm unstable. She tried to keep me out of my own family's photo. Dad's face crumpled slightly, like he wanted to argue, but couldn't find the lie. "I was trying to keep the peace," he said, and it sounded like a confession. "The peace for who?" I asked, and my throat burned. "Because it's never peace for me." Dad's eyes glistened. He looked down. "I didn't know what to do," he admitted. Nick scoffed. "You could have said, 'Don't talk to her like that,'" he said. Dad's jaw clenched. "It's not that simple," he muttered. Talia stepped forward. "It is," she said. "It's literally that simple." Dad looked at me again, and his voice softened. "Just come back to the table," he said. "Please. Your mother's upset." There it was. Mom's upset. Always Mom's upset. Like my humiliation is secondary. I felt something settle in my chest. Heavy, but clear. "I'm leaving," I said. Dad's head snapped up. "Don't," he started, panic in his voice. "I'm leaving," I repeated. "And you can tell Mom whatever story makes her feel better." Dad's face tightened. "You're going to ruin the night," he said, and the words came out like reflex. I looked at him, really looked. "You already ruined it," I said softly. "You just want me to carry the blame." Dad's mouth opened. No words came. Talia's eyes were wet. "I'll walk you out," she said quickly. Nick nodded. "I'll come too," he said. Dad stepped forward like he wanted to stop us, then hesitated like he finally realized he didn't have the right. He stood there, trapped in the consequences of his own silence. As we walked back into the reception hall, I could feel the stares again, but this time they weren't just curious, they were informed. People had heard. People had seen enough. My mom stood near her table, face flushed, eyes bright with anger, pretending to laugh with an aunt, but watching me like I was a loose spark near gasoline. She started toward me. "What are you doing?" she hissed as we passed. I didn't stop walking. I didn't engage. I felt strangely calm, like my body had finally chosen a direction. Talia squeezed my hand once, a quick squeeze. Nick walked on my other side like a quiet guard. We got outside into the cool night air. The garden lights glowed softly. Crickets chirped. The world smelled like wet grass and leftover roses. At my car, I turned to them. My hand was shaking again, but my voice came out steady. "Thank you," I said. Talia's face twisted. "I'm sorry it took this long," she whispered. I didn't realize how bad it was until tonight. Nick nodded, jaw clenched. "This isn't on you," he said. "Okay, don't let them make you think it is." I nodded, and tears finally spilled over. Not dramatic, just quiet. "I feel stupid," I admitted. "Like, why do I keep coming back?" Talia's eyes softened. "Because you wanted to be different," she said. "That's not stupid. That's human." I got in my car and sat there for a second, hands on the steering wheel, trying to breathe. Through the windshield, I could see the venue doors, the warm light, the silhouettes of people dancing. My family's machine kept going without me. My phone buzzed before I even started the engine. "Mom, how could you do this to us?" "Then, you made everyone uncomfortable. Then, your father is devastated." Devastated. The word felt like theater. Like the real devastation wasn't me being told I'm embarrassing. It was me refusing to stay silent about it. Another buzz. A message from Nick. "Text me when you're home." I mean it. I started the car and drove. On the way home, my brain tried to do its usual self-gaslighting. Maybe Mom panicked. Maybe she meant well. Maybe you misheard. Maybe you overreacted. But then I remembered her grip on my arm. Her whispered, "You're embarrassing." Her loud, "She's not meant to be in this one." The way Dad told me not to start. The way he said I'd ruin the night. I held on to those details like evidence because my family is very good at rewriting history if you don't keep receipts in your own mind. When I got home, I sat on my couch in my dress, shoes still on, and stared at the wall. My cheeks hurt from forced smiling. My wrist felt tender where Mom had grabbed me. My whole body felt like it had been on display. I texted Nick home. "Thank you." He replied immediately. "Anytime. Also, Nana would be proud of you." That made my throat tighten again because Nana always is, quietly, in ways my parents never managed to be. My dad called an hour later. I let it ring out twice, then answered because I'm still me, and me still hopes. His voice was raw. "Your mother is crying," he said immediately, like it was the headline. I closed my eyes. "Dad?" I said quietly. "Did you hear what she said?" Silence. Then small, "Yes." "And you still think the issue is that she's crying?" I asked. Another long pause. Then he exhaled. "I don't know what to do," he said. "You could start by not calling me embarrassing," I said. "You could start by not treating me like a hazard." Dad's voice cracked. "I didn't call you. You didn't stop her," I said. My voice stayed calm, and that calm felt like power. "You stood there." Dad swallowed audibly. "I'm sorry," he said, and it sounded like it cost him. I believed he meant it. I also knew sorry doesn't undo years of don't start. "I'm not going to events where I'm managed," I said. "If you want me there, you have to treat me like a person." Dad didn't argue. He just breathed heavy. "Okay," he said finally, like he didn't know what else to say. Mom didn't speak to me for 2 weeks after that. She posted wedding photos on Facebook with captions about family love and blessed, and in every group photo, I was either cropped out or hidden behind someone's shoulder. The only photo I existed in was the cousin's photo. The one Talia insisted I be in. In that one, my smile looked real enough that strangers commented hearts. But I know what happened right before the flash. I know what it cost. A month later, I met Talia for coffee. She told me something that made my stomach drop. After I left, my mom tried to tell people I got overwhelmed and needed a moment, like she was spinning a compassionate story. But Talia's mom, Marissa's mom, shut it down. Apparently, she said, loud enough for a few people to hear, "No, she left because you tried to exclude her. Don't dress it up. When Talia told me that, I stared at my coffee and felt a weird mix of relief and grief. Relief that someone finally said it out loud. Grief that it took a wedding and witnesses and cousins stepping in to make my parents face what they were doing. I wish I could end this with a neat resolution where my mom apologizes and my dad grows a backbone and we all hug under fairy lights. That's not how my family works. My mom still acts like the problem was my timing. My dad still talks about keeping peace. Liam was at the wedding too. Still sends me jokes in the group chat like nothing happened because cruelty in my family is always followed by forced normalcy. But something changed in me that night. The moment my cousins closed in around me for that photo, when Talia said, "You're in the photo," like it was a fact, not a favor, I felt something shift. It was like someone finally handed me proof that I'm not imagining it, that I'm not too sensitive for expecting basic respect. That embarrassment isn't something you are. It's something people decide to project onto you when your existence threatens their image. So yeah, I left the wedding. I left my parents standing there with their perfect smiles and their crack control. And it hurt, and it still hurts, because a part of me will always want my parents to choose me the way parents are supposed to. But for the first time, I chose me out loud.